Hi, welcome to an exciting episode. We're at episode 20 of Conversations with a Martial Artist. I'm really pleased to have with me today an exciting guest, Louis Bricusse. He is currently the welterweight champ for Cage Warriors Academy. He's got his eyes set on some more gold. And he's a very active fighter at the moment in mixed martial arts. Currently competing as an amateur, looking to turn pro pretty soon, but he trains at some fantastic academies with some great people, really experienced, very knowledgeable guy, and probably has some big things coming his way soon. Lots of interesting information coming your way today. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy. Cool. All right, Louis, thank you very much for joining me.
Pleasure.
It's been good to get you nailed down, and I appreciate you taking your time to come out here as well, because I know it's a bit of a pain in the ass coming in today. So I think the best thing to do is probably, if you want to introduce yourself first of all, a little bit about kind of your background, and boast a bit about your accolades, and then we'll run from there.
So I guess my name's Louis. That's a good start. I think I kind of found martial arts and like combat sports quite late, really. I started sort of grappling at 26, I think. Yeah, or no, it was 24. Sorry, I was 24, so 6 years. And became like completely obsessed. And kind of dedicated sort of like every waking moment to it from then.
Nice.
It started with jiu-jitsu at Kingston.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I was like, I love this stuff on the floor. I'm like, but how do I get there? And I sort of discovered what freestyle and like Greco-Roman wrestling was. And I was like, I became obsessed with that and like their level of athleticism and like their builds and their grit and the way they moved. I was like, yeah, this is different to what they're doing on the floor. Like that looks really, really hard. Started to focus a lot on that. Then I got into sort of striking, specifically boxing. Kind of started piecing it together. And initially I was like, I was doing, I was working a very sort of normal 9 to 5-ish job, but I get up at 5 a.m. to drive from Camden Town to Richmond to hit pads, either at the gym or in the park, in the dark, often in the rain. Yep. And I was like, look, if I'm doing this, I have to fight, right? Otherwise, what the hell am I getting up for? Like, I'll stay in bed. I had a white collar bout, trained like a pro for it. I didn't smash him, but I won.
Was that MMA, sorry?
No, that was a white collar boxing to start with. The first things I ever did was like grappling comps, actually, and I lost every single one. My first comp at Blue Belt, I lost 8 matches in a row. And I didn't compete for a while. Anyway, I had this white collar bout. I fought a guy who'd been doing it a lot longer than me. And I essentially just like stuck it on him. There wasn't like a huge amount of technique. It was like jab, overhand, right. It was R2X, the whole way through. It was button
just
smashing.
Spam it,
yeah. But I won. I then had a jiu-jitsu comp, and I won. And then my coach, a guy called Nathan Jones, who I think Mr. Bag and Tag. There's a plug.
Yeah, nice.
He was like, "Hey, now let's do an MMA fight." We had the MMA fight. I was terrified, but also really game. I can remember Brad Pickett, who's actually now my head coach, really. He was at the event with a lot of his top team guys, and he wrapped my hands. There was no one else to wrap my hands. He wrapped my hands. He wrapped my hands with like UFC tape. I remember thinking, this is a sign from the gods. Do you know what I mean? He's doing it with that tape. And I beat that guy in round 1. I was like, look, the ball's like rolling here. I can't stop whilst I'm winning. Fought on that Cage Warriors Southeast show, won. Fought again, won. All in round 1. So like, the signs are like,
it's going well for you.
Do you know what I mean?
It's there,
and again, completely obsessed. I'm kind of dedicating everything to it. Fought for their belt, won, fairly convincingly. and sort of like, I guess here I am now. So
Yeah.
I'm currently, I have the welterweight title for the Cage Warriors Academy show, which I think they're kind of linked, kind of not. Do you know what I mean?
I was going to ask you about that, to be
I
honest.
think it sounds more impressive than it is, if I'm honest. I say that. Maybe that's, it's wrong to say that. It's quite a prestigious amateur show.
Yeah, for
people
sure.
fly over from like Europe to fight on there. Some dude flew over from Japan to fight.
Wow.
This lad called Connor who trains at Top Team. Sorry, Callum, who trains at Top Team. So it's on a lot of people's radar. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
And Jack Mason is like, they put on a really great event. And I think they, it is on what's his name? Graham Boylan, I think his name is. That's the owner of Cage Warriors.
Okay,
I think it is on his sort of radar. But yeah, I won their belt. That's kind of where I'm at now,
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got a lot of stuff ahead of you as well. I know you've unfortunately been plagued by injury recently and missed a couple, but it sounds like you've got some big fights and stuff in the works, and other organizations, other belts and things. Like you're definitely still on the move,
on the
as
path,
it were.
right?
So yeah, I mean, it's wicked, and it's so funny because it's interesting hearing your development of like how you went into it, because obviously we met ages and ages ago at Kingston Jiu-Jitsu. And then you've sort of developed from there. But you've obviously got that passion for martial arts as a whole, because you've sort of dove into some of the different elements. But is it MMA you just found like you enjoyed the fights more, you enjoyed the training more, or is it sort of that was the competition that you were having success in and you just kept running with it?
I think for a start, I wanted to know that what I was doing worked, right? If I'm going to not stay at home with like people that I love, or pursue anything else in life that I might be interested in, I have to know it works, right?
Okay.
And jiu-jitsu, on its own doesn't, right? So I started doing all the other stuff, and I think part of me loves a tear up. If I'm honest, if I'm brutally honest, I can remember the first. I remember seeing a documentary when I was about 9 years old, right? And it wasn't a documentary, sorry, it was a drama, and it had Stephen Fry in it, and it was about a boarding school. And this kid, there was like a bully, and there was a kid in the year below, and they had a fight, and the guy the kid threw an uppercut hook cross, and I had no idea what it was, right? But I saw it and I was like, that's a move. I'm like, whatever he's just done is like he just did a thing there to that guy.
Yeah.
He like knew what he was doing. And I can remember it fascinated me. And I was always I loved sport. What I lacked in technical ability, I made up for in like absolute desire to like win and smash the other team. And I guess, when I discovered mixed martial arts, they're like all very healthy attributes to have in that sport, My game was always very wrestling based. I think that helps. And yeah, but I just completely fell in love with it. It's not, it's definitely not about like sort of hurting people. It is about winning, but it's just, it's a video game, bro. It's like a video game with your body, and there's so many, avenues that you can go down and styles that you can explore, and it became hugely addictive to me. And that's sort of, and now I can't stop,
Fair enough. I can see that. I very much get where you're coming from with that. The video game thing as well. I've often thought that it does feel a little bit, when you like calm down a bit, you sort of feel like, oh yeah, you are sort of playing this game. Obviously, I've not fought to the level that you have, but I'm sure that probably feels a little different. But when you like sort of get wraps on it, like a hard sparring session, but where you're still like mentally clocked in.
I think the video gaming, like it's like the skill acquisition. Do you know what I mean? So like I can see, okay, my wall work is here, and I need to improve this and this. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of like, at the same time, my shoot boxing needs work. Okay, I'm not very good at wrestling up on my back. So there's all these avenues of like a fight in a whole that like I need to focus on. And I just find it very addictive. Do you know what I mean? And really fun. and really fun. And it's you know, it can be the a fighter's life, in my experience. You know, and I'm still an amateur. I'm not fighting at the high level yet. You know, but it's tough. Do you know what I mean? It is tough. It's like it's you have to give it everything, because the lad in Dagestan that you're going to fight one day is right.
Yeah.
But it is so fun. You know, it's full of like mavericks, and I've met some really cool people. All of them are kind of lunatics in their own right. But yeah, it's just really fun, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it.
I get that. And I mean, there are so many avenues, like you say, because that's the one that sort of overwhelms me with people that go straight into MMA. I always wonder about it, because like you say, there's so many different things that you've got to be good at, and how you dedicate the time to like upskill all of that is what gets, because you've obviously got strength and conditioning, and then you've got all of the skills, like you say, you've got wall work, striking, wrestling, like whatever it is that you've got to do. There's so many avenues. How do you sort of balance that?
I think join a MMA specific gym to start with. Try not to do like the individual stuff straight away. If you're going to do anything from like a young age, I'd say wrestle. You know, spend hours and hours doing that. If you're just going to pick one to focus on. But yeah, like join an MMA specific gym. There's a lot in wrestling that doesn't work. There's a lot in boxing that doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's a lot in kickboxing, a lot in jiu-jitsu, and I guess at an MMA gym with a high level MMA coach, you're going to study the specifics of like what actually happens in a fight. Do you know what I mean? So you're taking like the 20% out of all of the martial arts really, and piecing them together. I think now we're at a stage in MMA where it's like it's its own thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you
very
sort of
much
can't
so.
just go in as one discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we've had that conversation a couple of times on the podcast, because there is so many, especially doing what I do with the podcast, I'm talking very specific like genres of, you know, this guy who studied this art, this guy studied this art. And I think there is very much that idea of, you do have to be so well-rounded now. And MMA is such a different beast to sort of what it was when it first come on the scene.
For sure.
That, you've got to have such a specific focus.
You've got to be good everywhere, you know? Really.
Yeah. And for your wrestling, how do you train anywhere in particular for wrestling specific, or is that just part of the MMA wrestling? Because again, there's some differences, but there's not a lot.
I used to. I did a lot of privates with this guy called Silviu Nastasa, who is a beast. I wrestled at this gym called Prometheus for maybe a year and a bit, pretty consistently. By that, I was just at very, I guess, sort of wrestling heavy jiu-jitsu clubs.
Yeah, fun.
Top team where I train and fight out of now is that they've got a very high wrestling pedigree. You know, Brad's the head coach, and he's sort of renowned for his MMA wrestling. So I wrestled a lot there. I think that answers the question.
I mean, the top team as well, especially, is something I wanted to ask you about, because they are such a top-notch gym, and they're absolutely flying at the moment. And, you know, no signs of slowing down in terms of the impact. They got some big names sort of all over. And I mean, it must be awesome to train there. Like some of the people you get to train with and under.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's also like it can be really humbling in a painful way at times, you know. I was speaking to someone this week, and I was like, you know, I don't know where I'm progressing. Do you know what I mean? Because like everyone I spar with is such a stud.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to see where I'm improving. Do you know what I mean? But I know by proxy and just being in there, I'm getting a lot better. But yeah, it's an incredible gym. I believe it's like a cheat code in there. No one, in my experience, works as hard as like we do at that club. There isn't a question that I can't ask Brad or Ash or any of the other coaches that they haven't got like a plethora of answers to.
Right. Yeah.
I think if you're serious about it, particularly if you live sort of in London or the Great London area, like why are you training anywhere else? You know.
Yeah.
I say it's a humbling privilege to be part of that team. and a small fish in that team. You know, it's, I think that's important as well. If you're serious about it, you need to surround yourself with like people that are better than you. You know what I mean, and try your best to sort of like to grow within that ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've done a wicked job of putting together a team there, haven't they? They've got some like really big PFL name, even UFC guys. They've got like Nathaniel Wood and stuff like that at the moment, don't they? But loads of people going to train with them and stuff like that. And I've seen some of their things. I was going to try and come down to an open day of theirs at one point a while ago. I can't remember what happened. I couldn't make it in the end. But it is a place I want to go down. Another guy that did the podcast, Harry Shaw. I don't know if you ever know him.
I know Harry.
He trains there. But he loves it as well. But it looks great. Wicked. I want to get down there.
Yeah, the facilities are excellent. All the bodies are there. Kind of whatever weight you are, you've got like at least 6 training partners, and that can be tough for like the big dudes. The big dudes there's slightly less, but like there's absolute studs in the room. There's Louis, Luke, Sim, all these like absolute monsters, and they come down from all over the place to train together. Lots of really good welterweights, loads of lightweights, loads of the guys in the slighter weight classes. I think it's the place to be. The evening classes are great as well. That's where it's less, I guess, more technical. But you've got hobbyists there that are also like excellent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And you're still getting coached by like
same quality of coach, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? So super high level gym.
Yeah, that's wicked. Yeah, it's definitely worth heading down there at some point. I'd like to, but there you go. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting as well what you say about the weight class, because I think that can make such a difference. Because I know we were talking just off camera before about your weight classes and stuff like that at the moment. You're welterweight, aren't you?
Yeah.
Fine, fantastic. And did you have to play around with weights and stuff for that, sort of getting into it, or did you always sort of know where you were?
At first, what did I weigh? I probably walked around at about 81 kilos, right? And I think, and I cut hardly any weight for like my first fight. I was sort of on the advice of my coaches, who it wasn't top team at the time. It was Elevate, who I still fight out of, and I train there all the time, and they're like home. But again, Nathan was like, look, let's not cut any weight. We'll go in at 77. I bulked up a little bit, but then all my fights, but I was cutting all my weight in a week.
Yeah.
Right. Like with carb depletion and then maybe sweating a bit. And it was essentially like easy. And then, a lot of people would cut loads, right, over their camp. Kind of started training at top team, and some of the welterweights are like enormous.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, there's this lad called Teo. Shout out Teo. He fights on Octagon, absolute stud. And I try my best to give him work, right? Sometimes I do, most of the times I don't, right?
Sure.
And like, part of me can't move his leg. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's also like really good. It's not just because he's a unit, but and I was like, okay, look, if I can go down, like maybe I'll be better off in that weight class. And I was going to fight a guy called Charlie Hatton for the Fight Star lightweight belt. And I would have made it, I was walking around at about 78, I think like 3 weeks out. But I'm watching all of my calories, training's rough, everything. So your libido's low, you can feel your testosterone's low, your calorie input's really low. I was like, this is shit. Do you know what I mean? This is really, really shit.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to have to cut loads of water weight. I got injured. I got quite a bad cut to the eye, so we pulled out of that fight.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And then I was I spoke to some of my coaches at Elevate, and be sort of like, look, let's fill out in the frame, and not it's not cut all the water. I'm 30. I'm not 22. Do you know what I mean? It's I think it's a wiser decision at sort of like my point in my career and my age now to like try and gain a few kegs, get strong as hell, and fight a higher weight. And I'm just going to enjoy my life outside of camp far more as a welterweight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, I'll be watching my calories constantly. I mean, I have to float at about 80, and It just sounds terrible, bro. I can't do that. I like croissants and full fat milk way too much, you know. So,
yeah, I'm with you. That's the same thing. Like we were just talking about some of my fights and stuff, and I don't really do much of the weight cutting either. But the only thing that really puts me off of fighting more is the whole having to take it super serious and diet and this and that. I'm like, oh, it's not for me, man.
There should be another one, you know. There should be, if there was like a 74 or like 75 kilo weight, that'd be great, because there's a few of us there that are kind of like, our natural weight is about 82, 83. That's me eating normal amount, eating clean, you know, eating to fuel my training, but not trying to gorge or stuff my face, right? For me to go up, particularly the amount I train, I have to eat like a pig. You know, it's like I'm on about 4,000 calories a day at the moment, trying to gain weight. And, you know, the same. And if I want to cut down, I'm eating fuck all. And it's like, it's kind of uncomfortable either way. So I wish there was like there was an 85, 84 kilo category.
I mean, a lot of people
74,
said that,
75.
Yeah, I mean, they've spoken about that for the UFC for a while as well, haven't they? Because it's a weird gap between the lightweights and welterweight. It's quite a jump when you look at all the others.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I suppose there are probably quite a lot of people like sat there, because I'm much the same. I sort of sit naturally between weight classes, and I'm like, I don't know, like cutting down's a pain in the backside, but also then I'm very small for the next division up as well. And I've always wondered about that, really, when you're sat right in the middle, what is the best way to go?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I quite like your philosophy of ride it out, you know, enjoy your life.
I think, look, like the plan is to go pro still this year. You know, I didn't plan on getting injured twice this year, right? We still go pro either the end of this year or very early next year. If I'm getting fucking starched, right, by these big boys, do you know what I mean? If I'm getting held down and wrestle fucked, or like getting clipped once and just my lights put out, it'll be like, you might be in the wrong weight class. Yeah. But at the moment, you know, I'm fighting welterweights and I'm winning, you know, and I spar with welterweights and we give each other good work, you know. So I think
it feels right.
See what we do at 77, you know.
Yeah. Fair enough. So I mean, that's interesting you say about turning pro, because I was going to ask you about that sort of next steps and goals and things. Do you have like stuff in mind? Because it sounds like you sort of almost fell into the fighting, like you wanted to test it, and then you've ended up where you are now. Have you got like next steps? Was there always like an end goal that you wanted to fight or turn pro? And
yeah, you know, I want no one is in this, or I don't think you should be, if it's not to be like really good, right? And I want like pro belts. That's what I want. And kind of like let's like put no cap on where it can go. Let's be realistic with my desires, however, and let's put all I can in every day, right? So the plan is, you know, to go pro. I'd like to get to Cage Warriors, the pro show. Yeah. I like the look of Octagon. I really like Octagon. PFL are cool. I don't think the UFC is in my grasp, if I'm honest. I think I'll be too old. Right. And, you know, Dana likes signing 24-year-olds, right?
Sure, yeah.
But I think I can still fight all across the globe. I think I can win belts. Yeah. And kind of go for as long as my body holds out, or as long as I love it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And at the moment, I'm right at the beginning. And I guess like watch this space. Do you know what I mean? Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, just keep going. So you're fighting. Obviously, you've got your current belt, and then you want to try and pick up some other AMI belts as well, or straight to
I kind of
pro soon as.
Yeah, soon as. Yeah, I don't really care about the amateur belts. I don't think. Maybe I'll fight on Cage Warriors Southeast again. But I want to do a London show. They're all over in Colchester. I'm going to sell way more tickets for a London show. This fight start August 3rd. Dean, one of like my coaches and kind of the I guess like a managerial role, aren't you, Dean? He's talking to Raj at Fightstar now, and hopefully we're going to get on that for August 3rd. And then I don't really want to hang around amateurs for much longer after that. You know, I need a test. I need like a hard fight. Yeah. You know, I need to like go the distance and have a test, I think, before I go pro.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I kind of want to start getting paid as soon as possible, you know, and developing the game even more. Then like knees and elbows are involved. I think another one of my coaches, Jack T, I love you. He thinks I think elbows are going to suit my game a lot.
Okay.
You know, sitting inside people's guards or half guard and rain in hell. So I think I can do better as a pro. So yeah, man, it's like let's start making it a profession as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to try and do that, especially when you fight at sort of, even though it's still amateur, the level that you fight at, it's a good level. And
mate, amateurs are so good now, you know, like the loads of the top team guys that are like really serious amateurs, and we're all training 2-3 times a day. Everyone's given up fucking jobs, businesses, relationships, like to just live like a Spartan, right? Whether they're amateur or they're getting paid, like the pedigree is so high. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think one of the, in a lot of cases, the only difference now is you've either been paid or you're not. You know what I mean? And you might as well be getting paid for it, you know, if you're going to do what we do week in, week out. So someone signed me as a pro, and let's get going.
I'll make sure we snippet that one for you for
nice.
your Instagram. But no, I mean, you're 100% right. We spoke about it in the past. Like the amateur level is so high, especially when you look at like when you fight for belts and stuff. That it's almost the only difference is like a different rule set. That's it. Like there's not that big a leap.
A few more minutes on the clock.
That's it. Yeah. And are you like sort of prepping for that already, or do you train very specifically for just AMI rule sets at the moment?
No, I train all my rounds are 5 minutes long.
Great.
I don't throw elbows. Yeah, I've started playing with them a little bit actually, sort of but not landing. No, I train as a pro. Yeah. And kind of always have, you know. I train for 5 minutes round. When I do have a fight coming up, I'll start doing threes as well, because it's way more of a sprint.
Yeah.
Than sort of like that initial feeling out process. But yeah, you know, I train to win pro fights, not amateurs.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Like you say, if you've got a specific thing coming up, it's good to dial it into that specific rule set or whatever and just get used to it. But in general, I'm always a big one for train sort of more than you need, and dial it down is great. So if your goal is to go pro, then I think training 5 minute rounds and stuff makes sense. But that must be brutal though.
It can be tough. I find the hardest thing is if you've just worked like a dog to take someone down, they scramble up and you know they're better on their feet than you.
Yeah,
that's like that's why you need to be so well rounded. Can't have any holes anymore. Can't just walk in. I did at top team. You know, I walked in as a guy with like just a very average wrestling pedigree. Right, was like throwing shit overhands, shooting in, maybe like muscle fucking a takedown, them springing up to their feet, and then me getting lit up for like 4 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you have to be well rounded everywhere, you know, because 5 minutes is a long time to be like relying on just one set of skills, you know.
Especially at a top team, I imagine.
I think any of the high level gyms, you know, you need to be good everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so it's interesting that you train like that in such a way, and you say you train sort of like a couple of times. What does your typical training week look like in terms of sessions and how you split it up?
So Monday is wrestling. Monday will be like hard wrestling in the morning, and then I'll usually like lift or do some sort of S&C in the afternoon, and then depending on how I feel, often I will like some no-gi grappling rounds. Tuesday is hard sparring at top team. Depending on how sparring looks, you know, I might train in the evening. Wednesday is jiu-jitsu, rounds in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll do sort of more technical MMA work. Thursday, I have as more of like a technical day, technical striking. I'll lift again, maybe run, some sort of conditioning. Friday's wall wrestling, and then I'll wrestle again in the evening. And then Saturday and Sunday, I kind of like I can mess around with it. If there's like, if I want to do some extra rounds, I can. If I want to do some positionals, I can. If I need to lift, I try and lift 3 times a week at the moment. Or I'll do nothing. You know, if my body's like finished. I like to have one day where I sit in a sauna for almost half the day. You know, I go from like really hot to really, really cold over and over and over again. But yeah, it's kind of like it's 2-3 sessions, 5 days a week. You know,
right. Yeah.
That's kind of how I structure it. One of them being hard, and the others trying to keep it. Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Keep it more technical.
Yeah,
It
sure.
can be hard to do that.
Yeah, I imagine it. But I mean, it's a huge schedule because that's the thing. You get a lot of mixed opinions in terms of how to do it, like volume, or is it like a few times a week, hard sessions, or light constantly and things like that. So I'm just always curious to hear how like people of your level like train and think that way as well.
Yeah, I kind of do what have a look at those around you. Yeah, see what the people that are really good at doing, and then do that. You know what I mean? And like almost like your opinions void. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're at like the bottom rungs of the ladder. Do you know what I mean? Brad, what did you do? Ash, what did you do? Teo, what are you doing this week? You know, look at like look at the people whose success you want to emulate or skill level you want to emulate, and try and work as hard as them. You know, I think, you know, half measures avail as nothing in anything, you know, and I think you need to work hard in this game. There's also, you know, overtraining is definitely a thing, and I think we all do it. But I also think it's a necessary evil, you know. I'd rather work too hard than not enough.
Yeah, and you can always take your foot off the gas when you need it.
Yeah, and you know, some weeks I don't spar. I sparred with just one training partner this week because I didn't want full 100%ness. You know, my foot's a little bit injured, and I just didn't feel like getting licked really hard in the face. You know, some weeks I'll choose to do that. Some weeks I might spar twice. Some, you know, there might be the odd round that I miss out because, like, you know, I'm feeling really spent. But kind of listen to your body, but also you got to push. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose that's a big part of it.
Game. Yeah, you have to. We're fucking fighting. Do you know what I mean? It's not. It's like an incredibly taxing thing, which requires a hell of a lot of dedication, you know. So
and so mental as well. Like I think the ability to be like, oh, even if you are feeling a bit banged up and feeling like shit, to keep going and be like, oh, fuck it, one more round. Like I think that plays quite a big part into psychology for martial arts and combat sports especially, because like you've got to do it. Like if you come back and after the second round or whatever, and you're like, oh, fucking tanks, and then you sort of give up, then that's sort of it. Then
I think if you look at any of like the greats. In any of their in sort of a sporting environment, right? You know, Michael Jordan, it wasn't a fluke that he got to where he was, right? You know, he wasn't shooting those hoops at 5 a.m. for bants. Do you know what I mean? And look where he went. You know, that's what did I watched that David Beckham thing recently, right? And like, you know, his dad had him in the park lining up all these footballs, and it's not a fluke that he got to where he did, right? And it wasn't he didn't get there because he took loads of rest days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he got there because loads of times where he didn't want to do it, he did it anyway. So yeah, I think you got to work hard, work clever, spar clever. I've been injured a lot because I can spar like a moron. You know, I can get pulled into fucking gym wars and like, and not feel maybe confident enough to be like, look, I don't want to go at this intensity. But you know, there's a fine line between like, I guess, training clever and not training enough, and vice versa, you know. Training hard and training like a moron. It's like it's tough to find, I guess, the right formula for it.
But I guess that's something that probably comes in time as you get to know. And I guess having good training partners as well is super important for that, isn't it?
And good coaches, I think, and a good team. Ideally, you'll have someone will be like, this is what you're doing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, to just sort of
I think
walk
at the
you through
highest
it.
level they do. You know, people like Volkanovski, they've got like someone's tailored it for them. Do you know what I mean? All they've got to do is show up.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you've got like, it's so singularly focused. It's like,
Yeah.
right, you're fighting this guy on this date.
Yeah.
This is what he's going to do. And especially like UFC level, like
Yeah.
you've seen their fights. You can normally
Yeah.
reasonably predict what's
Yeah.
going to happen. It's like, right, so this is what you got to get good at.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, you just sort of turn up and do the
man.
work. And hopefully that's that gets
Enough,
you
right?
the result. Yeah. Not always, but you know, worth a crack.
Can we at him now, Volkanovski?
Yeah.
He's got mentioned. Yeah.
We'll
Have him
try.
sharing it.
Do our best, yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing as well I wanted to ask you about that you mentioned briefly there was the sauna thing, because I've seen on your Instagram and stuff that you do a lot of the sauna and the cold plunge in the river and things.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to ask you about that, because it looks sick, but I mean sick in both senses of the word.
Look, I'm obsessed with. I'm a fairly simple man. You know, I like to train. I like good food, and like I love sauna. Yeah, and that's and I don't need a lot else to keep me very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really. You can't. It's a huge part of my life, to be honest. And fuck it, let's talk about it. I never always saw sauna as like just a thing in the gym.
Yeah.
It was like usually there. You've got like usually like a kind of overweight South African man talking about like the Beijing stock market, or like just swinging his koi around in there. And like, you know, I'd be in it for 2 minutes and I'd get out, right? A very good friend of mine called Tiernan invited me to this place in Hackney Wick about 2 years ago, which was like a community sauna bath. So I was like, what is it? He's like, it's a sauna. I was like, what do you mean it's a sauna? He was like, just come. And the whole place was, it's all outside, and it's saunas and plunge, right? And you know, in Finland, they're massive on this. Sauna's like a huge part of their culture. Anyway, I went and I got really, really hot and really, really cold over and over again for about 90 minutes. And I left and I was like, this is the best high I've experienced like ever. And I used to take like a lot of drugs, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. And I kept going back, and then I started working there, and I started sort of researching different sort of sauna cultures and the history of it all. And I've been to Finland twice now, kind of to like sauna and swim in the frozen Baltic Sea.
Yeah, I think I saw that you went fairly recently.
Yeah,
as well,
yeah. Yeah, I just love it, bro. It makes there's so many like health benefits to it. I think mentally, physically, spiritually. Like I said, it gives you a great high. I think it's a really cool way. I think it's like better than pub. You know, it's just like a better version of the pub. Like I go there with my mates and my brother quite regularly. We just shoot shit and throw Lolu on the stove. Yeah, it's really cool, man. I think on the other side of fighting, I'd like to do something in that world, whether it's like build them or set up a sort of, again, a similar project to the thing they've got going over in Hackney.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a big love of mine.
Oh, that's wicked. Because I could see that you do it really regularly and stuff like that. But
come, drop me a message and we'll go.
Well, see, I've always been so on the fence because I've tried. I've never done any like sauna stuff, any of the heat stuff. I've done a bit of it, like an ice bath and a plunge here and there, but it's never like super my thing. Like I quite liked it, and I've done it a couple of times, and I've always felt benefits from it. But I've never played with it like properly. But yeah, I've obviously heard so many different things about it, and I have seen your one where like it's literally in the river or whatever, isn't it? That you guys jump in after.
It's not far from here actually. It's Shepperton.
Oh yeah, that's not far at all.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe then. Yeah. But yeah, it's a cool little thing, and like you say, there's so many benefits from it. Like you hear people talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to hear that firsthand as well. But I've never met anyone that into it, to be fair.
So I hear you. I guess it's quite niche.
Yeah.
Right? Niche obsession, but yeah.
And is it the dual element, the heat to cold?
Yeah,
thing
I think so.
Like?
Yeah, I think you get like I like to push really sort of like above. It has to be above 80. I think anything below and it's not hot enough.
Right.
I think like 90 is actually like quite a good temperature. push for try and go for like 20 minutes or like as close as that as you can, to the point you're like spent. You want to walk out of there delirious, straight into something that is 7 degrees or colder.
Right.
Sit in that for between 1 and 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Get straight back into the sauna, and like you're on a different planet. You know, it's like you can feel your heartbeat in your head.
Yeah.
And it's so zen. Like problems are eradicated.
Right.
You know, yeah, and it's really fun, and it's great doing it with other people and meeting other people. You all kind of feel the same, right? This kind of like sort of blissful, and it's so simple.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you know what I mean?
it.
It's so simple. I'm getting hot and
I
cold.
suppose you're not really doing anything as well.
Yeah.
You're just sort of, you're there and then you're there.
Yeah, it's I think there's something about being, you know, you're not wearing a lot of clothes. Do you know what I mean? You're around people that you've never met before, so you sort of, it's hard to have like the mask. Do you know what I mean? Like the social mask that we have whenever we do anything. When you're sort of like butt naked with a silly sauna, well, you're not butt naked, you've got your shorts on, but like you've got a silly little sauna hat on, and like you can't speak because you've just like got out of a tub that's 3 degrees, and I don't know, bro. I've had like some very profound experiences in them, and yeah. I think if you do them properly, they can be really great. You know?
Oh, fair enough. Well, that is a ringing endorsement for them.
Yeah. I'm big on it. Everyone get sauna in. You know.
Yeah.
It's it will enhance your life.
Yeah, I suppose they're hard to find as well, though. Unless I guess some of the bigger gyms and things will have them, but I don't know what temperature.
Yeah, and they can be a bit crap in gyms.
That's what I generally figure as well.
Yeah, there is Virgin in Twickenham's got quite a good one. That one in Shepperton has like the potential to be like amazing, but in my experience, they haven't had them hot enough. They're like 50 or 60 degrees, and it's just cack. Sorry.
And you reckon 80 or 90 is
I think so,
spot?
yeah. It needs to be hot, you know.
That sounds fucking hot.
Yeah, that Hackney, the Hackney Wick Community Baths is incredible. Everyone should go there. Like, if you haven't been, get it booked and just go experience what they're doing over there. There's like a Finnish church that I need to check out. They've got like a sauna.
Attached to a church.
Yeah. Listen, in Finland, there's loads you can sort of research about it. For them, sauna's like part of their culture, you know. It's people have like given birth in there. They used to do lots of sort of like healings. It was almost like where you go when you're ill, or like hospital treatments, sort of like way back in the day. They have them in fucking churches. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a huge part of sort of their culture. I feel like I'm like a surrogate Finn at the moment. I'm like, yeah, I'm truly into it. But
it's quite interesting that sort of bled over a bit more into the MMA culture anyway. Like there's a lot more people that do the ice baths and things like that of late, I guess, especially. But yeah, it's almost fortunate that it blends so well with your personality as well as the sport that you choose to go with.
Yeah, I kind of find it's like, for me, it's like the obviously there's like all the physical benefits, but it's like sparring and training. It's so like level 10 full whack intensity, right? That's like the opposite for me. It's like it's quiet, it's kind of dark. You know, there's not a lot being said, and it's really nice to have a place that I can go to regularly, which is like completely different energy to like the chaos of being an athlete or a fighter, right?
Yeah, so like, I think that makes a huge difference, because like you're absolutely right. I've thought the same thing. Like after you do hard sparring rounds, and hitting the head of fuckload, and then you're sort of like, the last thing you want to do is sort of come home and like think and use your brain.
None of that. Yeah, I just want to put water on the stove. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, but it makes sense. Like, you're selling it to me really well. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the more I think about it,
mate, it's like enhanced, if not changed, my life. You know, the last 2 years. I'm big on it.
Well, there you go. Right, consider me signed up.
Nice, let's do it.
And so then back to the sort of martial art thing, and your training. So obviously you're talking about wanting to go pro and things like that. You said you've got a fight coming up fairly soon.
August 3rd. I haven't been matched yet.
Okay.
But yeah, it's almost definitely guaranteed.
Awesome. And so the plan is to keep just churning through them, like you say, pro by end of the year.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'd like to fight in August, another one in October, whether that's amateur or pro, who knows, and then December. But I'd like to have my pro debut.
And how
I think I need to speak to my coaches really, and be like, look, this is my plan. What do you think? You know, and if they think I'm ready, let's rock and roll. You know?
Yeah, you probably want them on board.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And how does it work then when you do decide to go pro? Is it a case of like you have to get contracts signed with certain things, or you still just you can float around organisations?
Yeah. I don't really know, to be honest. It'll be like uncharted waters for me.
Yeah.
I think you can. A lot of like the smaller shows have pro.
Yeah, because that's
fights.
What I was going to say. Yeah. A lot of them will have, you know,
there'll probably be something like that to start off with. Do you know what I mean? I'll fight on some show. I'll make my pro debut against another debutant. I'll smash him to pieces.
Yep.
And then off the back of that, we'll look at like getting a contract with like a bigger organisation. You know?
Yeah, sure. And how do you typically, how long, do you like to typically have between fights, like to sort of get yourself in gear and ready to go?
I think it can depend on the how that fight goes.
Sure,
you know, if it's like an absolute 5-round barn burner and like you pop 3 ribs and you've got a concussion, you know, take some time off.
Yep, fair enough.
Unfortunately, you know, last time I fought was October. It wasn't my plan to wait this long. You know, I wanted to fight in February, and then I was meant to fight a few weeks ago. I think 3 a year is like is a good amount. Yeah, I think others will say different. Will say more. I think some lunatics are like there's people at top teams. This one girl in particular, Frederica. She'd fight every weekend.
Sure.
I'm not as keen on that. But I think you want to be active. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You want to be, you want to be active. I think 3 is a good amount in a year.
Yeah,
I'd like
that
to
sort of
fight
makes
3 times
sense.
a year. That was my plan this year, and I still plan on doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you still got loads of time. That's the thing, don't you? And if you keep winning the first round, mate, you'll be all right.
No problem.
You do it every week.
Yeah.
No damage taken. Perfect.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, to be honest, I think that's probably a nice place to wrap up. Is there anything that you want to sort of say and plug? Where can people follow you to follow your career?
Follow me on Instagram, Louis.Bricusse, or just at Louis Bricusse. I'm a coach at Elevate Martial Arts in Richmond. It's a great gym for like those that want to start out or are already like established and want to improve their jiu-jitsu, their kickboxing, their MMA, their wrestling. I do a lot of my work there. And like I said, you'll get coached by me as well as other very high-level coaches. If people are interested in like sessions, you know, as beginners or more advanced, I'm available for like workshops and stuff like that. Slide in the DMs.
Perfect, yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know. I've given this is my whole life. Do you know what I mean? At the moment, and it's exciting. It's tough, but it's exciting. And like watch this space, you know.
Well, that's it. That's why it's so important to like support these things, especially like people that make a proper fucking run at it. Anything with any sort of career based in martial arts, I'm always for like more power to you, man. Because like it's not an easy path, and especially if you're going down a fighting route, like it's rough. So like you're obviously a very, very skilled guy, and you've got loads of stuff going on ahead of you. So I think anyone that is interested, definitely, all of your links and stuff will be in the description below anyway for people. But definitely support you and give you a follow, and then we'll see if you're interested in training. I'm sure you'll be game.
Awesome.
But, I appreciate your time, Louis.
Thank you, bro.
Pleasure to see you again, mate.
Thank you very much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed that conversation. It was great to sit down with Louis. He's a super interesting guy. I'm sure you got a lot out of it. Make sure you check out the links below in the description. I'll put all of Louis' details there so you can follow him and show him some support, please. Please also share this podcast with other martial artists, spread it round, and I will see you on the next one.